5 AI related events from 2023 that I think had the biggest impact on responsible AI. The first big AI event was Microsoft choosing to invest $10 billion in OpenAI. In September of 2022, OpenAI had released their ChatGPT model, and this really put artificial intelligence in the hands of the people en masse for the first time in history. So it follows naturally that Microsoft, who was already an investor in OpenAI, would continue to invest money into the company. What made this controversial, though, is that on January 18th of 2023, Microsoft announced that it was going to be laying off 10,000 people over the course of several months. And then 2 days later, they made the announcement that they were going to be investing $10 billion in OpenAI. And I think what this did for the world of responsible AI was force people to start asking those questions. Are people expendable? Are companies going to continue following Microsoft's leadership to make these trade-offs where they're compromising human lives in favor of progress and innovation? These were some of the questions that people were asking, and I think that this event was a landmark event that is going to have ripple effects throughout history. The second event is the EU AI Act. Now, the EU AI Act has been written and drafted over the course of several years, so this hasn't all happened in 2023. But in 2023 is when the conversations between all of the parties in the trilogue got pointier and pointier until on December 8th, they were actually able to agree on all of the text for the EU AI Act. And we know this is going to have a huge impact around the world because of the Brussels effect, where it's known that when the EU writes legislation in Brussels, that information is often taken by other governments around the world. They'll just copy and paste that into their own government so that they don't have to do the huge amount of work that it takes to write this legislation. They can benefit from what the EU has already done in terms of that work. The third one was the AI executive order in the United States, which was signed on October 30th. And this essentially means that the federal government has to adhere to certain guidance and then meet certain benchmarks in order to prove that they are building, deploying, using artificial intelligence responsibly. It was the first of its kind in the world, and we're still waiting for some of those dates to come around to see what the federal government is doing in terms of putting those protections in place, but it was definitely first of its kind, definitely a moment in history. And the AI executive order had an impact on the world of responsible AI because it said to the world, the United States government is doing what it can to prioritize building, deploying, and using artificial intelligence responsibly. And even though the AI executive order has limitations, this is still a huge statement. The fourth one is the Sam Altman firing. Wow. I mean, I made a video on this and I know people have talked about it a lot, but Sam Altman around Thanksgiving in the United States was fired by the board of OpenAI, and then he was in negotiations to come back, and then Satya Nadella had to stop in, and so I think it was Tuesday afternoon he was fired, and then by the following Monday he was reinstated. The board was wiped out. Only one person remains on the OpenAI board who was there originally. So it was just a very dramatic week. And I think that what this said to the world is that OpenAI didn't quite have its stuff together the way that we would want them to, especially as they're the leaders in generative AI right now, and especially because they're tightly in cahoots with Microsoft. They don't really have their stuff together. This was really chaotic, and I don't think that it made people feel more comfortable about what's happening in the world of artificial intelligence. And the fifth thing that I think has had the most significant impact on responsible AI in 2023 are all of the lawsuits that have come out related to AI products, licensing, copyright, etc. The lawsuit that was brought against GitHub and GitHub Copilot around licensing, that lawsuit is still outstanding, and we're still waiting to see what's going to happen with that. The lawsuit that was brought by Sarah Silverman and other authors around copyright, that lawsuit is still outstanding. Now, these lawsuits have been interesting to watch, but they haven't seemed to pack a huge punch. That is until the New York Times decided to bring a lawsuit against OpenAI and against Microsoft. And I'll make a video on this in the future, but this has been a really significant event. And the big reason is because they aren't just saying, hey, you're violating copyright. They're saying, because you are directing people to information from our publication and not to our publication website, you're actually causing injury to our business. So it's a really significant lawsuit, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. These lawsuits are really significant for responsible artificial intelligence because it's forcing us to ask questions about who owns what and who has a right to take what information, how much that information needs to be changed or altered or credited or cited. These are really big questions, and I think with artificial intelligence, people have often felt like they could circumvent systems that exist because it's the computer that's doing it and it's this novel technology. So those are the 5 biggest events I think that have had an impact on responsible AI in 2023, but I would be curious to hear if you guys think I missed anything. Happy New Year!